Training, everyone. I'm going to be covering a really lovely question that got put through in the check-in form, and the question is on how you build a simple strength training routine, and then how do you change it, how do you know when to adjust your training, when do you progress it, like the finer details, and get a bit of an understanding of why we do our training programs for X amount of time, and then how do you know when to make changes, how do you know when to adjust along the way, what changes do you make? So I'm going to break that down super simply for you today. So first of all, I like to recommend training programs for about 8 weeks. It could be 6 to 12 weeks, really, but it depends on a number of factors. I just find 8 weeks is just a very common, nice, sweet spot, but there's no hard and fast rule here. Should you change your training program every single week? Absolutely not, because you're not going to be able to focus on progressive overload, strength improvements, and being able to improve your technique over time. So we do want to try and keep that program for as long as we need to and as long as we can before making any changes. But then with that, what changes do we make? What are some indications that you're ready to change your training program? So we look at one, as long as you're enjoying the training program. If you're not enjoying your training program, then we can shake things up as long as it's not within the first 4 weeks. After 4 week mark, then you can consider changing up the training program. So you want to be enjoying it. You want to make sure that you're still progressing. So when should you change an exercise? If you're not seeing consistent progressions in your strength or in your repetitions or in your weight, 1 week where you don't progress in something is fine, and it might be, and sometimes if it does go backwards, you might not need a new program, you might just need a deload week. So there's other factors involved beyond, if you don't just progress every single week, that's okay. As long as you're relatively improving most of the time, that is an indication that you're still progressing forward. But if you're I have been stuck at this weight for 8 weeks on this exercise, and this particular exercise feels like shit, and it's just, I'm not improving, I just cannot, I've plateaued, I've stuck. You really tried. Lateral raises, for example, you're not really going to improve on lateral raises. They're not an exercise that we're really going to change. Maybe we'll change the equipment, the technique of it a little bit, but I'm talking, the difference between, do you do a hack squat, a pendulum, a leg press, a barbell squat? That's where we will look at it and go, all right, is it time to make a change to the program? Or is it time to make a change in the rep schemes? You're stuck at this repetition scheme, so maybe we need to adjust it to help you push through that plateau. So that's where we might make changes. When you really hit a plateau and it's hurting and it's feeling like shit and you're bored and you're sick of it and you just can't think of anything worse than doing that exercise, it's a good indication that it is time to change. But if you're consistently progressing and you're adding weight and you're adding reps and you're bloody loving it and you're in a roll and you feel good in the routine, you don't necessarily need to change your program for a certain amount of time. Now, sometimes if you're a bit time limited, you're not going to be able to hit everything in your program. So that could be another time to change your training program. So for example, you might not be able to focus on one particular body part as much. You might do a training program that is still well balanced and structured to hit all your body parts, but you might bias a little bit more towards your glutes for X amount of time. And then you might do that and you might see, oh my gosh, my hamstrings and my quads are kind of lagging now. So I'm going to bias a little bit more of my time to my hamstrings and my quads. It's still a well-rounded program, but maybe I'm going to push the growth in that area while I maintain my glutes. So that is another strategy, is sometimes you just can't hit everything in a really great balance to push everything forward. So maybe you bias one area at a time depending on what you want to be focusing on, or if you have any injuries or deficits or strength. If you're I really want to improve my bench, well, it's cool, we might do a little bit of extra work there, and then that means we have to sacrifice our time and take away from something else. So that could be another reason why we change up the training program, is depending on your actual goal and what your main focus is and how you're progressing in it, and do we need to rotate between programs so that we get a little bit more balanced structure over a longer period of time. That could be another consideration. So why would you change? Now, how would you change? So it could be down to as simple as, all right, I always do a lat pull down like this, So I'm now going to swap it for a lat pull down like this. I always do a row like this, so now I'm going to swap it for a row like this. Like, they're really easy ways to make changes in your program. You're going to hit your muscles in different ways. When you can rotate between different things like that in your programs, then you're also going to help hit the muscle. Your muscle's 3D, so you don't always, like, if you only ever do the one version of a lat pull down, you're only ever going to develop strength and muscles in that one line of pull. Whereas if you do a program, I actually do this like with my ladies, or with you guys, with what I will do is, like, one day where we do a lat pull down, you might do it this way, and if you've done it this way, then in the next day that you do it later in the week, you're going to be doing a more neutral grip, and in that way we're hitting more of that full 3D effect for your back. And it's the same principle for shoulder press, like, and bench press and incline press. Like, for some, maybe you might do a flat and a shoulder press, or a flat and an incline press. Maybe it's doing a normal grip shoulder press and a neutral grip shoulder press. So you can alternate through your hand positions, your line of pulls, your angle of pulls. Like, flat, incline, and shoulder press are all going to in some way target the front delt, and then obviously shoulder press is more shoulders and chest is more chest, but you're still going to hit some of your front delts. So you could potentially rotate between those three over your program, so you still maintain and develop strength in those different lifts. Lateral raises are lateral raises, you ain't changing those, but you could swap between a cable, a dumbbell, a machine. That could give you a little bit of variety as well. So like pulls, I've talked about pulls, legs. So on legs, like, we're not going to do huge changes, but it's more like, okay, so on one day you're going to do, like, you're always going to have like a single leg movement or a lunge pattern, right? So you might do, like, in one program, we might do reverse deficit lunge. On the next day, you might be doing walking, not the next day, but the next leg day, you might have walking lunges. So you have those two single leg patterns. In your next program, you might have single leg press and a Bulgarian split squat. Or you might have a dumbbell reverse lunge and a dumbbell step up, or a Smith machine reverse lunge and then a dumbbell step up. Or, like, you can see what I mean, like, it's all single leg, but we just have slight variations that we can rotate between. Squats, we can rotate between a hack, a pendulum, belt squat, reverse V squat, barbell squat, goblet squat. Like, there's so many options depending on kind of what you like, what you're progressing on, what we want to focus on. So it's not necessarily like you're throwing the baby out with the bathwater and starting from scratch again. It's just more that we're going to make small changes to your program so that you're getting a little bit more variety. Like, the difference between, you know, a barbell squat and a hack squat is the hack squat, you're potentially going to get better range of motion and you're more supported with your back. A barbell squat, you might not get, it depends on your mobility, but you might not get as good mobility, but also you really need a lot more core stability. So depending on what you want to focus on, we might do barbell squats for a cycle, hack squats to really push it to the limit, barbell squats for more just like pure strength and feeling awesome, hack squat to get like to push it to failure. Like, there's different ways that we can rotate between that one, so that is another option. You know, some exercises you might just keep the same. I know also I get you might cycle between like a Romanian deadlift, a normal deadlift, next program Romanian, next program deadlift. Maybe you'll do a deficit deadlift for like 4 to 6 weeks, and then you'll go up to, like, that's what I did with Becca. She was kind of plateauing in her deadlift strength, so we actually moved it to a deficit paused deadlift, which was brutal. She had to go lighter, but that developed a lot of strength in that bottom position for a training cycle. And then when we moved her back to doing a deadlift, she was way stronger again, and it pushed through that plateau. So sometimes you might change the exercise a little bit to help break through plateaus, develop strength in different ranges of motion, and it just creates that more full round effect. So it's not like you need to change the whole structure. Like, if you're doing a lower body day, I'm still going to want you to do an abduction, a thrust or a hinge, a squat, and a lunge pattern, something like that. Hamstrings and leg, like hamstring curls, leg extensions, they're kind of your fundamentals to a leg day. Keep that structure. You might want to do a glute biased and then a leg biased day as well, but the structure stays relatively the same, and you just rotate between a few different exercise options. It's not like you need to start 100% from scratch again. Same with upper body. You know, you're going to do a vertical push and pull, a horizontal push and pull, and a lateral raise, maybe an extra rear delt, biceps, triceps. Like, that's the fundamentals of a training program, and then we'll just tweak it here and there based on your time, your specifics that you want to focus on, the equipment you have, what you enjoy, how your strength is going, and is there any deficits that we need to prioritize along the way. So that is an overview of when to change a training program, how to change a training program, give you guys a little bit of like background to what's going on in my brain when I'm doing your programs. But let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys in the next one.